Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining. Sunil here. Can you hear me? Please confirm in the chat box. Thank you. Thank you very much. Perfect. Okay. So what's a plan? What's a plan for our today's session? Our plan is to learn about networking features of Docker. So this is our plan for today's session. To understand Docker networking. We'll also understand the drawback of Docker Zero Network. What is Docker Zero Network? We'll understand the drawback of Docker Zero Network. How can we overcome this drawback by creating our own custom network? Let's learn how can we create our own custom network in Docker. And how can we create a container inside the custom network? So this is all related to networking features of Docker. Okay. Very, very latest. So let's get into the concepts. So before getting into concepts for today's session, let's have an interaction with Venkat. Yeah, Venkat.
Hi, Sunil. Good evening.
Good evening, Venkat.
I have drained one node, and after that, I have reactivated that drained node.
Okay.
But containers, resources not rebalanced to the.
No, it will not rebalance. The containers will not be shifted to that particular node which you have attached. Okay. Whenever you create a new service, okay, then from that point onwards, the new service will use a new node. Okay.
Yeah.
But once you're back, the means make the node active, the containers will not shift again. Containers will run out on the existing nodes, whatever they have. But from new services, it takes the load. Okay.
But in real time, it will be problem, right? If I have huge number of services, and let's suppose my node having some problem, and I drained it and reactivated. If the resource
when there are more number of services, or in the same way to that scale, we will have no more number of Docker nodes. Okay. And then each node will be of a very good configuration. So you don't need to worry about that. Okay.
Okay.
Clear, Venkat? Yeah.
Okay.
Mysura ready. Good evening.
Good evening, sir. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Yeah, fine, sir. Yeah. Sir, I'm creating one new service in Tomcat service, but automatically 2 containers are created. What's the problem, sir?
Automatically?
2 containers are created.
So when you created Tomcat service, how many replicas you have mentioned?
6, sir. 6 replicas.
So when there are 6 replicas, 6 containers will be created. But you are able to see only 2 containers, right?
Yes, sir.
Is that your question?
Actually, sir, I'm created one service, Tomcat services, 6 replicas.
Fine.
But
okay.
Yes, sir.
Continue.
After Docker container ls click
okay.
on.
Very good.
Command
You're
is
getting
executed.
only when you have mentioned replicas as 6 containers should be created. So when you are connected to manager machine, right? You're connected to manager machine, isn't it, Mysura? So when you see Docker container
ls,
Docker container ls, you expect that the 6 containers which will be there. But when you see Docker containers ls, it will show you the containers which is running on the manager machine only, not the entire cluster. Okay, the manager has taken how much load? 2 load. That's the reason you're getting only 2 containers of Tomcat. Got it, Mysura?
Yes.
Okay,
sir,
so the remaining 4 containers are running on worker 1 and worker 2. That's the concept. Okay.
Okay.
Did you understand? We have 3 nodes, right? Manager, worker 1, worker 2. So why you are getting only 2 containers? Because this particular node, manager node, is taking only 2 containers. Okay, remaining 4 containers are running on worker 1 and worker 2. So go to connect to worker 1. Again, you write Docker containers. Here, there also you'll find some Tomcat containers. Okay.
Yeah, got it.
Clear, Mysura? Okay.
Yeah, sir. Clear, sir. Thank you.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
Good that you are doing hands-on. Very good. Okay. So let's learn more about Docker networking, which is something very, very important and latest. Okay. Yes. So to experience this Docker networking, so I want to create a new fresh host, Docker host. Okay. So let's do that. Number of containers 1. Sorry, number of instances only 1. I go with all traffic. Review and launch. Click on launch. Create a new key pair. Download the key pair. Yes, the desktop APK file. Launch instances. Instances. So let's install Docker in it. I hope you remember how to install Docker. The site is get.docker.com. Pick up the 2 commands. Connect. Okay, so let's connect first. Let's install Docker first.
Sunil, just one question.
Okay.
In the script already, like a latest Docker will be installed, right? Let's
Yes,
suppose
you
I
are right.
want a particular version Docker want to install.
Okay. There is no specific need for installing older versions. Okay, there is no advantage, Venkat. So you are running a
Okay.
script. That script gets automatically updated. You end up getting a Docker version. That's it. Okay. So whatever is the prevalent, that will be installed automatically. Okay.
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 In real-time environment also, this script
Yes.
will be
Same. Okay.
okay. Okay.
So if Docker upgrades from 20.10 to 20.11, you cannot. There is no concept of installing 20.10. You need to go with 20.11 only. Okay. Got it?
Okay. Let's suppose another node having lower version. Is there any compatibility issues?
Once we install Docker, okay,
Okay.
all the nodes should have same version. Okay.
Okay.
So we should not maintain one version in one node, another version in another node. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay, Venkat. So Venkat, we have just installed a Docker host, isn't it, Venkat? So we have created an EC2 machine. We have installed Docker in it. Agree? So this is the Docker host machine, isn't it, Venkat? Okay. Now look at this. This is very important. Look at this. Okay. Venkat, I'm creating an Nginx container. Look at this command. Docker run, image name is Nginx, automatic port mapping and detach mode. And I'm not giving a name. Venkat, if I don't give a name, automatically container takes its own name. Okay.
Correct.
So let's do that. I want to start with creating an Nginx containers. Okay.
Okay.
So we know when image is not available, download high pressure options, and then when we run the image, the container gets created. Yes. So if you want to see the Nginx container, Docker PS, you can see the running container. So this is the Nginx container which is running. Okay. Venkat.
Okay.
Every container will have a unique ID that is called as a container ID. Every container will have a unique number that is container ID. I want to take a note of the container ID which I just now created. This is the container ID.
Okay.
I'm copying the container ID. Okay. I want to know more information about the container. Whenever you want to know more information about the container, I hope you remember Venkat, we have an inspect command. Inspect command will provide you more information about the container. I want to know more information about the Nginx container. Okay. So I have taken a note of the container ID and I'm running an inspect command of that against that particular container ID. So this will give you more information about that particular container. Yes. Can you see here? We got a lot of information about that particular container. Now the point what I want to tell you is that every container will have an IP address.
Yes.
Till now we have not focused this. Okay. But now look at the point. What I say is that every container will have a IP address. Like every machine, EC2 machine is having an IP address. Every container will have an IP address. But the moment you inspect the container, can you see here IP address? Anuj, sorry, Venkat. You can see it is 172.17.0.2. Okay, I want to take this IP address. I want to take a note of this.
Okay.
So this is the IP address. Okay, Venkat.
Okay.
We can see the IP address. Okay, now we got to know that every container will have a IP address. Okay. So do you think this IP address and the EC2 machine IP address is the same?
No.
No, it's completely different. So don't think that the IP address of the EC2 machine here the same IP address. No, it's not the case. It's a completely altogether different IP address. Okay. Okay. Now, whenever we install Docker, automatically a network will be created in Docker. Okay. When we have installed Docker, automatically a network will be created. Look at this. When we install Docker, Docker installs a network by default in the host machine. That network is called as Docker 0 network. When you install Docker, automatically Docker 0 network will be installed. Okay. And the Docker 0 network always starts with the series 172. Okay. It is always the responsibility of the Docker 0 network. It is a responsibility of the if it is a responsibility of the Docker 0 network to provide the IP address to the container.
Okay.
Which component is responsible for providing the IP addresses to the container? Docker 0 network. And did we install Docker 0 network? There is no concept of installing Docker 0 network. When you install Docker, automatically Docker 0 network will be installed, and that particular component are responsible for assigning IP addresses to the container. Okay. If you want to see the Docker 0 network, okay. So can you see IP space A? Okay. A stands for network. IP stands IP space A will provide you the network adapters. Can you see? We have a network.
Docker 0
network. And Docker 0 network series starts with 172. Okay, 172.17.0.1.
Yes.
Okay, that means all the IP addresses always will follow this series only 172.17.0.1, 0.2, 0.3 like this. It will give you all the IP addresses. Docker, so it is the responsibility of the Docker 0 network to provide the IP addresses to that particular container, and that container IP address no doubt starts with same series. Okay. So observation, we have the same Docker 0 network also. Observation, the series of Docker 0 network is 0.1, and then the container has taken the IP address from the Docker 0 network. Clear, Venkat? Clear about this? So,
yes,
so few important points to take a note as of now. Whenever we install Docker, a networking component will also be installed. That network is called as Docker 0 network. That's the default network of Docker. Now, when we create a container, every container will have an IP address. We know that. And if you want to know the IP address of the container, we have an inspect command. Using that, you can see the IP address of a container. It is a responsibility of the Docker 0 network to provide the IP address to every container. Clear, Venkat? Okay.
Clear.
Now, let us create another container. First, we have created Nginx container. Right. First, we have created Nginx container, and the IP address is 172.17.0.2.
Right.
Okay. Now I am creating one more container. What container I am creating? Redis container. So tell me whether this Redis container will also have IP address.
Yes, yes.
Yes, every container will have IP address, and that IP address also definitely starts with 172 series only.
Correct.
Container get created. If you want to see the running containers, Docker PS to see the running containers. So we have one Nginx container, and just now we have created Redis
Redis.
container. I am taking a note of the container ID so that I can inspect my container. One 172.17.0.0.3. Previously it was 0.2. Next one was 0.3. If you create one more container, it will be 0.4. Like this in series. In this particular series, the Docker 0 network provides the IP addresses to that containers. Okay. So observation, it takes the next IP address from the same series, 172.17.0.3. Clear?
Clear.
Okay. So coming to the pictorial representation, we have created one Docker host. And right now in the Docker host, we have two containers which are running. One is Nginx. The second one is Redis. Fine. So this container is 172.17.0.2. This is 0.3. Fine. But my point is, can these two containers communicate to each other? Now, can these two containers communicate to each other? To check whether the containers can communicate to each other or not, okay, so we cannot check it from the Nginx to Redis. So for that communication purpose, so to check whether the communication is happening or not, I want to create a busybox container. Busybox is something like a small Unix container.
Right.
Venkat, isn't it?
Yes, yes, yes. Sir.
Small Unix based utility, minimum features of Unix operating system. Okay, it's a Unix suite. Okay, fine. So Docker run, the name of the image is busybox version 1.28. Okay, and detached mode, I don't want log messages, hyphen name. I'm naming the container as tester1. Test any container name can be anything. And this particular container will be active for the next 3600 seconds. Okay.
Okay.
I am creating a busybox container. Okay. I have created the busybox containers. Now, if you see the running containers, Docker PS to see the running containers. So we will have one Nginx, one Redis. The last one is busybox. I want to take a note of the container ID because I want to see the IP address. Okay. So this is the container ID of busybox. Okay.
Okay.
I also want to take a container ID of Redis.
Okay.
First one is container ID of busybox. The second one is container ID of Redis. Now what I am doing by using ping command, I am testing whether these two containers are connected or not. Okay. So Docker execute. I am this first one is a busybox container. From the busybox container, I am pinging to the Redis container. Okay. By using ping utility in the busybox, we can test whether the containers are communicating to each other. When you try to check, can compute containers are connected or not by using the ping command. Okay, so you are not able to ping it. That means, is it pinging? No, that means these two containers are not able to communicate to each other. So the bottom line conclusion what we have now is, using Docker Zero Network, we cannot ping with container IDs. This is one container ID, this is not container ID. We cannot ping.
Right.
Using container IDs, we cannot ping. But can we ping using container names? Let's try to ping using container names. How to see the container names? Okay. So if you see, so these are the container names. 1 minute, list this one. Okay. Tester 1 is the container name. Hopeful, we are not giving a name, so it has taken default name. This is the Redis container, and this one is Nginx container. Okay, so can we ping using the container names? Let's take a note of it. So I want to take a note of the container name of Redis. Hopeful underscore greedier. And using the same, this is the container ID. 778 is container ID of BusyBox. From the container ID to container ID, it's not happening. I am trying to ping from the container ID to container names. So Venkat, is it pinging? We are not able to ping by using the names. So conclusion is, we cannot ping using container ID. You can also ping, you cannot ping using container name. So in Docker Zero Network, we cannot ping with the container name. But my point is, can we try to ping with IP address? Okay, let's take a note of Redis IP address. Okay.
Okay.
So the first IP address is Nginx is 117.0.2, isn't it? And the second is 172.17.0.3. That's the Redis one, isn't it? And here I want to use container ID of my BusyBox, and I'm pinging to my first Nginx container, and I want to ping to my second Redis container.
Redis.
Now let's see the response. Are you able to ping using the using the IP addresses? Are you getting response, Venkat? Interestingly, you are getting a response.
Yes.
You're getting a response. I want to ping with the Redis container also. So interestingly, from the Redis containers also, you're getting response. That means, this means, yes, it is working. This means using Docker Zero Network, one container can communicate to other container using IP address. You cannot communicate using container IDs. We cannot communicate using container names. We can communicate using IP addresses, and we have proved it, Venkat. Clear?
Yeah.
Perfect. Yes, Wakar.
Sir, good evening.
Good evening.
Sir, it means Docker Zero doesn't support DNS, right?
Docker Zero does not support
DNS.
DNS. You're right. It only provides IP address. Okay.
Okay, sir.
You're right. Now, Wakar, can we talk?
Yes, sir.
So the conclusion, Wakar, as of now, communication happens using IP address. Agree?
Yes.
Assume that we have two containers. One is a front-end container, let's say application container. The other one is back-end container, is DB container. Got it, Wakar?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Now, generally, front-end container should be connected to the back-end container. Agree? To application to run.
Yes,
If you enter some details in the application, that should be connected and stored in the backend as a row, isn't it, Wakar? Okay.
Yes.
Now, assuming is front end is a Java container or something like that, and back end is a Oracle container or something like that. Okay.
Yes.
If you want to establish communication between the application container, you have to link application container to the DB container, isn't it? So Generally in the application level, the front-end container, we have this kind of codes. If it is assuming Java technology, we write jdbc.odbc.database name, database port, and which schema you want to connect. We will be providing this connection string into information in the front-end container. Agree?
Yes.
Okay. So here, when both the containers are running on Docker Zero network, when the front-end container is running on the Docker Zero network, when the back-end container is running on the Docker Zero network, you cannot use database names. Instead, you have to use IP address because pinging
DNS.
happening only using IP only.
IP address.
So in the connection string, you have to use IP address. Agree, Vakar?
Yes, sir.
But is the IP address of the container permanent? No.
No, sir.
Am I right? IP address of the container, because container can be, let's say if the container can be crashed, instead of a new container gets created, the hardware is failure, the containers will be
No,
shipped.
IP will be okay.
So the IP address is not permanent.
Yes.
So assuming the container is removed and then we have scaled the container. So what happens when container acquires a new IP address? You will have connection issues between the front-end container and the back-end container. Do you agree the problem with the Docker Zero network?
Yes.
Problem with the Docker Zero network is communication is having IP addresses, but the containers are not permanent. IP addresses are subjected to change. When IP addresses are subjected to change, there will be connectivity issues between the application container and the backend container. Okay. So if you provide this IP address, it's not valid. You cannot do that. This is a drawback of a Docker Zero network. That's the reason Docker Zero network is not used at the industry level. Okay. When you want to establish communication between the networks, between the app containers. Clear, Vakar?
Yes.
Am I clear?
Yes.
Thank you. Yes, Naveen.
Yeah, my doubt is actually we have hyphen link concept, right? To communicate with the.
This is a replacement of hyphen link. You are right, Naveen. Okay.
Okay.
This is a Docker networking is the latest feature, which is replacement of hyphen link. Okay.
Okay. Right. Thank you.
Good. So, can we have a talk, Naveen? So we have understood the drawback of Docker Zero network. Agree?
Yes.
Coming to your point, we have used hyphen link for linking to containers, but hyphen link is currently outdated. At enterprise level, we create our own network instead of using hyphen link. We will be creating our own Naveen. We will be creating our own network. Okay.
Okay.
Those are called custom networks. Obviously, whichever Docker Zero is not our network. It is a predefined network. Agree?
Yes.
So we can create our own network using, that's called custom networks. Using custom networks, the advantage what you can avail is that we can ping the containers using the names. That's it. That's the beauty. Name is always permanent, isn't it, Naveen?
Yes.
So you can ping it using the names. Okay. So let's experience how can we create our own network and how exactly communication happening using the names. So let's start from the scratch. I want to remove all the containers. This is the command to remove all the containers. Okay, let's start creating new. We are creating our own network. We are creating our own network. Docker network create is a command. Docker network create is a command which helps you to create our own network. Network name can be anything. I can write it as network 1, net 2, net 3. I can write my name also, isn't it? Network name is Sunil is the name of the network I want to create. Okay, Naveen. So let us create a new network. Take a note of the network ID. The moment your network gets created, it will give us a network ID. Yes. I want to get more information about the network. I want to have more information about the network. So we have an inspect command, which will provide you the more information about the network, which you just created. Docker inspect followed to the network name. Sunil is my name of the network. If you look at the network, there's something called gateway. Okay, so look at the gateway. 172.18 series. Docker Zero network is taking 17 series. Okay, this is taking 18 series. Okay, this network taking 18 series. That means when you create a container, if that container belongs to this particular network, that IP address also follows the same series. Agree? Isn't it, Naveen? Okay. So now if you create the containers in Sunil network, that particular container acquires the IP address from this particular series. So it is the responsibility of the Sunil network to provide IP addresses to the containers. And how can we exclusively create containers to a specific network? Look at this. Now I want to create container in the Sunil network, which I've just now created. Docker run, the name of the image is Nginx. Hyphen name is used to provide a name to the container, detached mode port mapping. The new option I'm showing you is hyphen net. Hyphen net is used to create a container specific to an exclusive network. I want to create container in the Sunil network. Okay.
Okay.
Yes. So hyphen net is used to assign a network to a particular container. Now, if you see the Nginx container is running. Now you can see the Nginx container is running. I want to get more information about the container. You can inspect the using the container name. I can also inspect by using the container ID. And the name of the container is app container. I want to inspect the app container. You can see the IP address of this container. It is taking what series? 172.18 series. So this is a proof that this particular container belongs to which network? Sunil network. Clear, Naveen? Isn't it?
Yes. Yes.
Because we get the custom network IP series. I want to create one more container. That's a BusyBox container. In the second BusyBox container also, I want to link it to Sunil network. So Docker PS, you can see both the containers are running. One is the Nginx container, the other one is BusyBox containers. Now I want to enter into the BusyBox container. Let's take a note of the container ID. I'm connecting to Naveen. I'm connecting to the BusyBox container, and you can see IPA stands for network adapters. You can see the BusyBox containers will have so what is the command? Okay. Exit to come back to BusyBox containers. I want to see list of network adapters in my Docker host. IPA will show you a list of network adapters. This is you should able to get Docker 0 network. This is the Docker 0 network, and we also have created our own network.
Sunil.
You should able to get that information here. Let's enter into the container.
So I think Docker network ls will show that.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Docker network. You can see there is a Sunil network created not automatically. We have created a command which helps you to create a new network. Clear, Naveen?
Yes.
Okay. So perfect. Okay. So now, why should we create a custom network? Because there is a problem with the Docker 0 network. The problem with the Docker 0 network is we cannot ping using the container names. We can ping only using container IP address, which is not at all advised in the real time. So that is the purpose we have created our own network. Okay. So I want to enter into the BusyBox container. Okay. I think the container is stopped. Yes, now I am entering into the BusyBox containers. And from the BusyBox container, I want to, Naveen, Nginx container is running in the Sunil network, which is taking 17.80 series. So I want to ping using the IP address.
Yeah.
I want to check, are we able to ping using the IP addresses? You are able to ping using the IP addresses. We do not want this. We should not use IP addresses. I want to ping by using the name. So what is the name of the Nginx container? The name of the Nginx container is app container.
Yeah.
Okay, so the name of the Nginx container is app container. So my point is, can we able to ping using the container names?
Yes.
Are you getting reply, Naveen?
Yep.
You
we
are
getting.
able to communicate using not IP addresses. You are able to communicate using names. Similarly, you can also communicate using container ID. So we avoid links. So this is more powerful way, Naveen. This is more powerful way using rather than hyphen link. Create your own network, whichever the containers you want to link it, add it to that particular network. That's it. Your job is done, Naveen. This is more
So,
easy way of handling containers whenever
yeah.
you want to establish a multi-container architecture.
So instead of in the JDBC connection, while we are giving the URL, instead of IP address,
We provide the name of the container. That's it. Because
Okay.
name is always static. It doesn't change. Okay.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you, Naveen. Thank you. So Docker, to see list of okay, exit to come back to my Docker host. To see list of networks, we have seen Docker network ls. To see the list of containers which are there in the Sunil network. Okay, Docker inspect Sunil. This is important again. Docker inspect Sunil will provide you containers. How many containers are in this particular network? Okay, so we have an app container, we have a BusyBox container in this particular network. Okay, so it has taken 172.18 series. It is also taking 172.18 series. So the point what I want to tell you is that when you inspect your network, you can see list of containers which are running within the network. Okay, now.
Sir, I have a doubt.
Yes, Wakar.
Sir, suppose I created two networks, one Sunil and one Vakar, right?
Okay.
So the container of
you
Sunil
have
network,
created one. Okay, so you have created two networks. Okay, one network is Sunil network, which we already have it. Okay, so
Yes.
one more network is something like ABC network. Okay, now
Yes,
tell
sir.
me. So there is one container which is running on the Sunil network, and there is one more container which is running on the ABC network.
ABC.
Now your question is, can we establish contain links between two
Yeah,
networks?
because subnet
Agree?
is different, right?
You
But
cannot do that. Got it?
yes.
Wakar? You
Yes,
cannot
sir.
do that. Okay, it should be within the network, and we have seen the moment the containers are within the network, they're already connected. Okay,
Yes,
you don't need to
on the-
exclusively
in the
establish the
same-
connection
in the
within
same
the same
network, we are
network. You
able
have
to
just seen it; they're already connected, and you are able to connect using the names. Okay, Wakar. Okay.
If means
Now,
subnet change, then not able to ping, right?
yes,
Not
you're
able to
right.
communicate.
You're right. Okay. Now, Wakar,
Yes, sir.
Docker run Redis. Okay, I'm running Redis image. So what happens when you mention this? A new container gets created. Agree?
Docker 0.
New container gets created. That container belongs to which network?
Docker 0.
Docker 0, because every container default belongs to Docker 0 network. If you want to create that container in your network, you have to exclusively mention it by using -- net option. Am I right, Wakar?
Yes, sir.
So as we have not mentioned the network information, by default, that container belongs to Docker 0
Docker
network.
0.
Okay, so let's take a note of it. This is belonging to Docker 0. As we have not mentioned network information, it belongs to Docker 0 network. To see list of containers, Docker PS. To see list of all the containers. So we have just created Redis, right? So you can see the Redis container I just created 13 seconds back. Okay. Okay.
Yes.
Redis belongs to Docker 0 network. Redis belongs to Docker 0 network. Whereas app, this one, second one, belongs to Sunil network. The app container belongs to Sunil network. Wakar, I am pointing to your question now. Do you think a app container will communicate to Redis container? That's what your communication, isn't it? Okay.
Yes, yes, yes.
They cannot communicate because they belongs to different networks. Okay. So Docker PS to see list of all the containers. I want to take a note of the Redis ID. Okay. And Redis container belongs to Docker 0, isn't it? Just now which we have created. I want to take a note of the container ID. Now, interesting thing is that this Redis container is actually belonging to Docker 0 network. Agree? But that container ID, you can exclusively map it to custom network. Docker network connect, to which network you want to connect, the name of the new network is Sunil, and mention the container ID here. Okay. So this means do not be under impression that one container belongs to only one network. This is a Redis container ID, which is belonging to both the networks. Okay.
Okay, a single container can
Single
be part
container
of
can be
multiple
part of
networks.
multiple networks. So look at this.
Now it will be able to communicate. With
Yes, now it is now connected. The above command is used to connect the Redis container to the Sunil network. If you inspect the Redis container, if you inspect a Redis container, you can see that that particular Redis containers is part of two networks. So it can communicate to containers with either network. I hope I have answered your question, Wakar.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. The
You
way
can
to
see
communicate
here, it is now part of 172.18 series. Okay. And it also belongs to 172.17 series. So this particular container is now part of two networks. Okay. Now Redis container can be pinged to app container, or Redis container can communicate to containers which are in the first network. Redis container can also communicate to containers of the second network. Got it, Wakar?
means
Okay.
this container have multiple IP, two IPs.
Exactly. That can be possible. Okay. Thank you.
So is this container accessible from outside network?
Yes, it is outside. It doesn't have any restrictions. Okay, Wakar. Okay, this is within the internal networking. Okay, Wakar.
Yes.
Yeah. Very, very interesting. Okay, isn't it? So Docker network ls to see list of all the networks which you have just seen it. So we have seen. So we have seen that we have created a new network. This Sunil network. Yes. Likita Dama, how are you doing?
Hello.
Hi Likita, how are you doing?
Yes, good, sir.
Yes, your question.
Sir, nothing. I'm having questions. I'm understanding well.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Yes, Anuj.
Good evening, Sunil.
Good evening.
So Sunil, once we create a Sunil network, there is a BusyBox container. Because why we create BusyBox? Because BusyBox supports ping utility.
Command, ping utility.
Right. So the moment I create a BusyBox in Sunil network, it pick a different IP.
Yes.
Now, if I create multiple container in Sunil network, so in order
multiple containers in Sunil network, okay.
Yeah, in order to ping those, I have to first log into the BusyBox so that I can go in a Sunil
and
network.
Execute the ping command.
Right.
You can execute the ping command. Yes, you're
right.
right.
If I want to be try to ping from Docker 0 network, it will not ping.
It will not. Yes.
Okay. So if I want a container to be a part of multiple network, I need to attach it.
Yes, you're right. Exclusively, you
it
need
is,
to write one command.
It is same as IP aliasing, which is providing multiple IP to a same
something
server. Right. Yeah. Thank you, Sunil.
Maheshwara.
Actually, so I was trying to ask the previous thing. It's just networking in the sense like actually the two containers can exchange
communicate to each other.
communicate to each other, am I right?
Yes,
Right.
communication to each other. Okay, and we have done it before, Maheshwara, using hyphen link. Okay, you have two networks, LAMP architecture. We have done it using hyphen link. All these are not required. Create a custom
Right.
network and include the containers in the custom network. That's it. They can communicate to each other. That's all. Okay,
So,
this is more easy way.
Docker
Okay.
Zero network, we cannot use it because the
Cannot.
IP changes
Yes,
dynamically.
yes, you're right. That's the reason we cannot use
So
Docker.
typically, it will not be in use, am I right? Only
We will
custom
not
network.
use in Docker Zero network in the real time. Okay, we create our own network. Okay.
So the advantage of custom network is we can ping using the container
names. That's the main important advantage.
Right.
That's the only advantage, in fact. Okay.
Right. So which practical situation we means like same thing, like we
LAMP architecture, the backend and front end connectivity. Always you create a network and include containers in the network. That's it. It's easy, in fact. Okay, Maheshwar.
Right.
Okay. Yes, Vasant.
Sunil, I have a couple of questions.
Yes.
While creating the Docker network, can we mention our own IP range, like private IP range?
I think there's an option. There's a syntax. I'm not aware of it, but you can provide your own series. Okay. But there's no specific advantage because only for internal communication, Vasant, isn't it? So you will not get any specific advantage when you have your own custom series. Only what we need is a IP address. That's enough. Okay. But yes, I think there's a syntax where you can provide our own series. Okay.
Yeah, because some organization will restrict to the
they have their own series.
You can. And again, one more question is the network, when you create a network in the Docker Swarm, how the network
Docker Swarm? So that's our continuation about. Okay, in the orchestration. Okay.
Okay.
I'll see it now.
Okay. Thank you.
Chandra. I can see your hand raise. Okay, Chandra. Krishna Rao.
Hi, Sunil. Good evening.
Good evening.
For
interesting Docker Zero network and networking features.
Very
isn't it?
You are using BusyBox for ping.
Just to prove that the containers are communicating to each other. That's the only reason I have created BusyBox. Okay. Nothing special advantage. Okay, Krishna.
In market, we are presently you are using networking, not using link. What you are?
You are right. Yes, you are right. Whatever you are doing it using hyphen link, that can be actually using networking by creating your own network and create 3-4 containers whichever you want to communicate to each other. That's it. It can communicate. Okay, Krishna? Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Perfect. Anuj, can we have a talk?
Yeah, sure, Sunil.
So Docker network ls to see list of all the networks. Can you see we have this is a new network which you have created, Sunil network.
Correct.
Okay?
Correct.
When we have, what is the command to create a network? We have seen it. Let's go back. Docker network create.
Docker network create and then the name.
Network name. Docker network create and whatever the name you want, the network gets created. So there is in the name column, you can see it as, so name of the network is Sunil.
Right.
Did we mention any driver? Driver is nothing but type of network. Okay.
Right.
Did we mention something like bridge? No, we have not mentioned it. Okay.
No.
So that's important observation. Actually, people call it as these are types of networks. In fact, they are not networks. They are drivers. Okay. The network drivers. Okay. Correct. Docker follows container network model by using which container capabilities comes into Docker by default. Okay, so don't worry. It uses container network model. You don't need to worry about this.
Right.
The following are the different network drivers, or in other words, types. Types are also called as drivers. Okay, we have one network of type bridge. There is a network of type host. There's a network of type null. Okay. There's one more type of network called overlay. Anyways, right now we have not able to see overlay network. We'll be seeing that overlay network soon. So there are different types of network. So if anybody asks you different types of network, bridge network, host network, NUN network, and overlay network. Okay. Now,
Right.
in this session, we have experienced two types of networks. One is Docker Zero network, the default one. Okay.
Right.
And then we have created a network, Sunil network, the custom.
Sunil. Right.
By default, Docker Zero is of type bridge network. The default network of container is Docker Zero network, that is of type bridge. Bridge type of networks, container on one machine can communicate. In bridge network, container on one machine can communicate to another container in the same machine.
Right.
So here, how many host machines are there? Only one host machine is there.
One machine.
So communication happening within the one Docker host is called as bridge network. Okay. The default type of network is bridge network. When I have created Sunil network, I have not mentioned any type. When you don't mention any type, it becomes a bridge network. So these kind of networks of type bridge are able to successfully communicate between containers when they are running on only one host machine. Only one host machine. How many host machines we are having? Only one host machine.
One.
Okay.
Right.
So if you see Docker network ls, we have seen it Docker network ls. You can see Sunil network. So by default, that's also of type of bridge.
So Sunil, that means 1 minute, a little bit confusion. So once we create, the default network type is bridge. If we don't mention anything, that is bridge.
You are right.
And bridge network machines can communicate with each other within same Docker host.
Yes, you are right.
Not on different, because different Docker hosts is entirely a different setup.
Different. Okay.
Obviously.
Yes.
Okay.
So bridge network is confined to only one machine only. Am I right, Anuj?
Right.
It is confined to the specific machine. Okay. So that's about, we have some understanding about bridge. So let's have some understanding about host.
Sunil, one thing. So once I log in a busy box, which is created in Sunil, can I ping a IP address, not a host name? Can I ping a IP address?
IP address, yes, is possible.
Docker Zero. Yes. Okay.
Not Docker Zero. Within the network. Communication happens only within the network.
Okay.
Okay.
So if machine is created in Sunil network,
don't say machine, container.
Container is created in Sunil network. Anyhow, I can ping with IP or with the name of container is Sunil network.
Yes.
Is it possible, question, is it possible to ping a container which is running in Docker Zero with IP, not with hostname?
No, not possible. That's what Vakar has said. So with outside the network, whether it is Docker Zero network or ABC container, it cannot be communication, which is not possible. Only within the network. That's what you want to be local to the network. So that's what we want. Okay.
Within the network ping.
So if you want it outside the network, then we have seen we have to include that container in the two networks.
Okay. Perfect.
We have seen it. Then it can communicate seamlessly. Okay.
Got it. Got it.
So that is about bridge network. Now coming to host network. When actually host network is used, majority of the cases bridge is used, but let's have some discussion about host network. Assume that I'm running a database. Okay, I'm running a database. I want to use machine IP. Machine is nothing but EC2 machine IP.
Right.
When you want to EC2 machine IP address, same as container IP only. Okay, you want the container to acquire the IP address of the EC2 machine. Okay, it is possible. That is possible using host network. Okay, so we already have one host network, that is Docker network ls. You can see we already have one host network. Now what this command is doing, Anuj, we are creating a new container. That is Nginx container, but we are linking to host network.
Host network.
Okay, it is linked to host network. Docker container PS.
Yes.
You can see the just now which is created Nginx. Okay.
Right.
Okay. There is no port number. Generally, port number maps, right? Nginx. Every time you tell a port, you can see this is Nginx, which is not related to host. It generally has port mapping, whether it is capital, automatic, or manual. But here there's no port mapping happening. There is no port number. Even though you have mentioned capital P, port mapping should happen, right? It has not established port because there is no need of establishing port. We can directly access that particular Nginx using the IP address without port number because it has the same IP.
Oh.
It takes it takes the public IP of the Docker host.
Got it.
And then colon, Nginx runs on the default port number 80, right? Are you getting the Nginx? Beauty.
Right. Right.
Okay. So this is the beauty of host. Okay. We get the Nginx page. Okay. But the problem is we cannot create one more Nginx container.
Right.
Because
Already
again,
occupied.
conflict. One only host IP. How? EC2 machine will have only one IP, right?
Right.
So when you write one IP to colon 80, there is a scope of only one access to Nginx. Okay. Can you create one more Nginx container? Impossible.
No.
Okay.
No.
So port is already 80 port is established, published. If you try to create one more container, you cannot create it. Okay. That's the behavior of host. Okay. So let's create one more container. Using one image, you can create one more container, right? So I'm creating one more container. Okay. Now, if you see list of containers, Docker PS will show only running containers. Okay. We have created 2 Nginx containers, but you're getting only one. Got it?
Right.
And PS-A will show you both the stopper containers and running containers. And now you can see one Nginx and one Nginx. Okay. One is exited 26 seconds before. So you're trying to exclusively forcefully create one more Nginx container. It is not possible because you have clearly mentioned as host. In host, using one image, you can create only one container, not more than that. Okay. So So to know why the host is exited, take a note of the container ID. If you see the log messages of the container ID, so let's do that. This is the exited container. I want to take a container ID. So I want to know the reason why the container is exited. You should have to see the log messages of the container. Docker logs is the command. You get the reason as address already used.
Right.
Where is it? Yeah, address is already in use. Okay. So with host network, the bottom line is one type of image you can use it only once. This is a typical behavior of a host network. Okay. So I have never seen anybody using host network. This is the behavior of one type of network called as host network.
So Neil, if we have a busy box and it occupies the IP address of the Docker host, since busy box is nothing but also Unix operating system.
Yes.
So will it not create a conflict when we try to ping it or do SSH from behind? Where we will be landing up? It will on Docker host or the container? For example, if it occupies the Docker host IP, now I have two operating systems. I want to do SSH putty.
Okay.
I did everything, password, everything, setting, everything correct. Now when I do putty,
I think you should not. It will take to EC2 machine only. The highest priority goes to the EC2 machine only. Okay.
Okay.
So these are the cases, typical cases. There's no practical usage of this host. But Anuj, if anybody asks you what is host, they'll ask you generally interview.
Right.
To know how good you are in networking, generally people talk about bridge network and then they don't know more than that. Okay, because that's the only thing used. But if we want to talk something more, this will be very important. So you'll understand. You can showcase your exposure towards the host networking. Okay.
Right. So bridge network is nothing but a switch. It kind of local switch.
Perfect. Okay. There's one more type of network. So bridge network is done, host network is done, null network. Refers to no network. Null is none, isn't it? No network.
Right.
Not none. If you do not want container to be exposed to the outside world, you don't want that container to be exposed to outside world. In that case, you go for none network. Okay.
Especially
Docker,
with DB1.
Docker run image name Redis detached mode mapping -net. I am linking it to name. You have to link it to name. Name is none. Okay. Type is null. So I'm naming it to null network. Okay. interesting thing, this particular container will not have IP address at all.
IP address.
Okay.
So that means if I create this network in Sunil, no, but we cannot create.
1 minute. Okay, so let's first create the container. Container is created. I want to take container container ID which belongs to none network. I want to inspect this none network. The exclusive behavior of none network is generally containers will have IP address if you are able to see a container. Sorry. What's this? If you are able to see a container and that container IP address is missing, this means you have to understand this container belongs to null network. Okay.
Right.
So when none network is used, when you want orchestration tools like Kubernetes or OpenShift, when client use these kind of orchestration tool, if you want orchestration tools to take the networking capabilities, okay, not the Docker default networking capabilities, you want the orchestration tool to take care of networking capabilities. In such case, we don't want networking in Docker. In such case, we go for none network. Okay, so this is the concept of none network. Perfect. Okay, so in the real time, in the real time, we know that the containers are running on multiple machines. That is swarm. Till now, we are all dealing with single host. Agree?
Single host, right?
When there are multiple machines, okay, manager machine, worker and worker to machine, okay, that is in the swarm environment. Okay, when container present in one machine wants to communicate to container running on other machine. Okay, so this is a container running in one host, and you want to communicate to a container which is running on a different host machine. Okay, so so in the orchestration environment, so this is what happens. Okay, so if you want to do that, so in such case we go for overlay networks. Overlay network is used for establishing communication between the containers running on a multiple
Docker host.
Multiple Docker host. You are right. So now first point, Docker info to check whether the swarm has been initialized or not. Okay, so you can see as swarm as inactive. Swarm as inactive. Docker swarm is not yet initialized. Okay. How to initialize Docker swarm? You already know it. Docker swarm init is a command which will help you to initialize the swarm init. When you initialize the swarm, what happens is it generates a token. This token you need to copy it, run it on second EC2 machine, third EC2 machine. Those machines will be added to the nodes. All this we already know it. Worker machines. Okay.
Right.
But initially you have initialized the swarm. The moment you initialize the swarm, if you see Docker network ls, previously we used to have only 4 types of networks. Now you can see a new network will be created automatically when you initialize a swarm. That network is of type overlay network. Previously we used to have only bridge network, and then we have discussed about host network. We have discussed about only none network. Now I am now discussing about one type of network called overlay network. Overlay network is used in orchestration in Docker swarm. Okay, now you can see observation, a new network got created, that is overlay network. The type of the network is overlay, and the name of the network is ingress. Okay, so one machine can communicate, one container can communicate, one machine container can communicate to another machine container using the overlay network. I want to get more information about the ingress network, so inspect. Is for ingress network. So you can see the IP address series. It has taken 10.0.0.2. Okay. So now when we create a container using service, in orchestration, we always use services.
Service.
Docker service, create hyphen replicas.
Right.
If you create containers, that containers will take this IP address series. Okay.
Right.
It uses automatically overlay network. Okay, the moment you are writing service, it uses a overlay network. Okay,
automatic.
so
We don't
automatic.
have to define.
You don't need to control it. It is not in your control. Docker service create the name of the service is S1. I am using Nginx -- replicas 5. That means how many containers are created? 5 containers will be created.
Right, and they will not be. They will be having IP address. Okay, 10 in 10
Obviously,
series.
in this series.
This series. Okay, the series got changed simply.
That's it. Okay, so obviously, as they belong to that particular network, okay, ingress network, it takes that particular series only, isn't it? Whenever a container belongs to a specific network, it takes that particular series.
A kind of switch is created.
That's
switch is created for those Docker hosts.
Everything is virtual. Docker PS. You can see all the 5 containers which are running. Okay, all those are Nginx containers. Okay, I'm taking a note of a container ID. Take a note of the container ID. And I want to inspect that particular container just to prove the series. You can see here it taken 00 series. That means Anuj, this container belongs to that ingress network. Okay, clear?
Correct.
So Swarm uses overlay network. Then the type of the network is overlay. The name of the network is ingress. So for establishing communications between the containers running in different hardwares, that is different machines. Okay.
Right.
Yes, Venkat.
With host network type, is it mandatory to use without port number? Like accessing, let's suppose I'm accessing my container, which is using host network type.
Okay.
Is it mandatory to access with only IP address and without using port
It's
number?
not mandatory. If you want, you can create your own port number. Okay.
Right. Because yes, because we have given default, right? Then I can create multiple container with my port mapping changing, like exposing with.
You can do that. You can do it. Okay.
Okay.
Even though you do it, Venkat, but still if you create one more container of the same image, it gets exited. That's the behavior. Okay.
I mean, if I expose different port also, it will.
But still, that's the concept of host. As per host documentation, one image can have only one container. That's it. Okay.
Okay.
That's the concept of hosting.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Can we create our own overlay network? Docker network ls to see list of networks, right? So we have created, this is a network that was created automatically when you have initialized Swarm. So that type of network is overlay network. The name of the network is ingress. Now my point is, can we create our own ingress network or our own overlay network? Yes. Docker network create, network name can be anything. I'm writing it as OL1 is the name of the network, -- driver, and you want to create network of type overlay. When you don't mention any type of network, automatically the type of the network is bridge network. But I don't want to create a bridge network. I want to create my own network. So you can do that. Docker network create will help you to create your own network, but the type of the network is overlay. Overlay network got created. Now you can see Docker network ls. OL1 is a new network which I have created and is of type overlay. So don't think that we can create only bridge type of network. You can create also overlay network. Okay, you can see now if you inspect the overlay network, if you get more information about the OL1, you can inspect that. So it contains the IP address 10.0.1.0 series. Okay, it has taken 1.0 series. Okay, not 10, 1.0. It has taken 1.0 series. Okay. we have created one service. That is, I hope you remember ingress with -- replicas. I want to remove that particular service as one. All the 5 containers will be removed. I want to remove all the existing containers. Fine. I want to create my own service. The Anuj, the point is, We are creating our own. In orchestration, we have learned how to create our own service. But the point is that new service should use my custom network.
Right.
By default, it uses that ingress network, default network of a Swarm. You can
Right.
also create your own network. You can link it to your own network. We have created OL1, right? Docker service create. This is the name of the service. 5 containers using Nginx port mapping --network. I want this service belongs to this particular network. Okay. So that means all these containers will take the same IP series 1.0 series.
So if I don't define this, that will go to ingress.
Ingress.
Got it.
Yes. Now Docker service PS, you will see those 5 containers. All these 5 containers belongs to OL1 network. Take a note of the container ID. Take a note of the container ID. Yes, this is the container ID, and I want to inspect that particular container ID. It takes 1.0 series. Okay, so you get 1.1, 1.2, 1.5. It has taken 1.4. So it has taken the same series of OL1 network, which
OL1 network.
Okay,
Right.
superb. Like this, we can use, you can establish communication between the containers. Okay. And we can see the network one is taking a 1.7, whatever it is. So generally we use bridge network for communication between the one container or between one host. For communication between multiple hosts, we will use overlay network, and we can create our own over network. Okay. Superb. Perfect. Thank you. Yes, Maheshwara.
So generally, actually, the communication will be between different containers, am I right? And different machines, actually.
Yes. Whenever orchestration is
Docker
used.
host, actually, between different Docker hosts, actually, overlay network, am I right?
Yes, 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 you are right.
Practical scenario.
Yes. Okay. Clear, Maheshwara?
Yeah.
Perfect. Yes, Naveen.
Good evening, sir. Sir, I didn't understand that none network, sir. Could you please repeat if you don't mind?
When you don't want IP address to a container, okay?
Okay.
When you don't want IP address to a container, then you need to create a container. Exclusively, you need to use none network, Naveen. Okay. So when you do this, what happens? The container will not have IP address. Okay.
Will we use in a real-time scenario?
No. When you want the orchestration to take help of network. Now here we have created this OL network, right? You want OL network to provide IP address to that particular container which is running on none network. Okay. So to avoid that conflict, what we do first, we create a container with none network. Okay.
Okay.
So that container will not have IP address, and then we will be linking that particular container. We will be you can link that particular container to the ingress network which you have just now created. So it will take that 1.0 series. Naveen. Okay.
Okay.
Got it?
Yeah.
So that's how it is used. Okay. Okay, so this is all about networking feature which I want to discuss, which is very, very latest and is now used currently. So I hope you have enjoyed the training. So with this, we have completed all the concepts of Docker and Docker Swarm. Okay, with this, we have completed the concept of Docker. The next tool I want to discuss is about Ansible. So we will continue Ansible in tomorrow's session. After Ansible, again, I'll come back to Kubernetes. Okay, so stay tuned for Ansible's first session tomorrow. Okay, thank you, and see you tomorrow. Bye, everybody. Thank you very much.